Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our weekly update call. Very, very snowy day here in Owasso. Everybody, please be safe. If you're going out today on the roads, it's obviously messy out there. But unfortunately, everyone's inside warm on the call. And we do have a jam-packed agenda today. We actually have a number of speakers, maybe a record, of folks that are going to talk. So I want to jump right into that. We do want to cover several items today, but as usual, I do want to focus on what we're hearing and knowing regarding vaccine distribution. It remains the number one question that we get from many of you on the call. So we basically have a standing invitation from our friends, or for our friends at the health department, as well as Memorial Healthcare. They're doing a great job being leaders in this effort in our community. And I do know that Tom Kurtz has joined us today from Memorial. Tom, any updates you can provide?
A couple of things, and I'll be brief. We did not receive any new first doses this week from the state of Michigan. It looks like we're averaging about a once a week notification from the state on deliveries, and we were not given any new first doses this week. So unfortunately, we will not be doing any new vaccine administrations this week. Many of you probably saw the Beaumont Healthcare story from the Detroit area yesterday, where they had to cancel 2,000 vaccinations for second doses because they did not receive a delivery for those second doses. Fortunately, so far, Memorial has received second doses for all first dose administrations that we've been given. But because of some of that uncertainty in the marketplace, not in the marketplace, but uncertainty in the vaccine distribution, from now on, whenever we get vaccines, we will be splitting them half and half for first dose and second dose, because we don't want to miss those second dose appointments like what happened to Beaumont yesterday. Brian, our CEO, was on Channel 12 last night sharing some of those concerns and frustrations about the vaccine distribution. We are at the ready and able to distribute and vaccinate a pretty high volume of patients. We just don't have the vaccines in our hands, and that continues to diminish. So the last week we got 100 doses. The week before that was 100 doses. The week before that was 200. So we're getting very, very few. So until distribution ramps up, we will still stay here at the ready and willing to distribute as many as we do receive. We do twice a week updates to our website and social media on our current inventory and distribution plans. This week's update is there are no distribution plans. So unfortunately, not much of an update for us at Memorial this week, but thanks for giving us the opportunity to be a part of this call again.
Thank you, Tom. And once again, thank you for your leadership. I know how hard you guys are fighting to be an advocate and get as many vaccines as possible. We are sharing the communications from the hospital to our distribution network. Hopefully everybody's getting those emails, and obviously you're using social media as well. Very informative updates. And yeah, definitely the lack of vaccine is the issue. And I do want to share Larry Johnson. He's not on the call, but he sent me a text this morning, and he said, I'm just going to read what he wrote. Vaccine distribution is still slow. We received less first dose vaccine than last week. This is going to be a long haul. Our priority focus is 65 plus for the first dose, and frontliners and school staff for second doses. So that is straight from the director of our health department. So, we'll just continue to share information as it becomes available, but we want to make sure you're at least aware of the latest. So thank you to our friends at Memorial, and thank you to our friends at the health department. With that, since this is a good segue, I actually want to give the floor to Gary Jones, who has been a regular on this call from Governor Whitmer's office. Gary, do you have any updates on the vaccine or anything else you want to share?
Hey, Justin. Actually, I just got brief comments this morning. So last week, the governor released her third executive budget. The budget recommendation provides investments that will foster the success of Michigan students and teachers, improve the state's infrastructure, address the public health crisis, protect our Great Lakes, and provide help and opportunity for families and businesses. The executive budget recommendation follows a recent supplemental budget request for the current fiscal year that was sent to the legislature on January 20th, which would provide $5.6 billion in new funding for Michigan's recovery from the pandemic. That supplemental request requires action by the legislature to ensure the full benefits of Governor Whitmer's COVID recovery plan are realized. Approximately 350,000 Michigan families will continue to have access to additional food assistance benefits during February as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic, according to a recent NDHHS announcement. And lastly, older adults in Michigan experiencing challenges finding COVID-19 vaccine information online now have a trusted source for assistance. Through its partnership with the national education technology company Get Set Up, the MDHHS Aging and Adult Services Agency is offering a series of sessions to walk older Michiganders through the Michigan COVID-19 vaccine website. The goal is to help them find their local health department to register online for a vaccine appointment or to be added to the wait list. And just want to plug the catch-all website, and then I'll take questions. Michigan.gov/COVID vaccine is the catch-all for everything related to vaccine efforts inside of the state of Michigan. And Michigan.gov/coronavirus is still the best catch-all for everything pertaining to COVID-19 in the state.
Okay, Gary, thank you. Always appreciate the opportunity for you to come on and give an update. From the executive office to the legislative branch, I want to give the floor to our state representative, Ben Frederick. Ben, you've been on the call many times. Wanted to give you the opportunity to jump on and tell us the latest, what you're working on and what you're seeing. Go ahead, Ben. And you're going to want to hit *6 on your phone, too, to unmute yourself. You're going to want to hit *6, Ben.
Thank you, Justin. Sorry about
that
lag there.
You're good. Yep.
Appreciate
Floor is
it.
yours.
Glad to be back and joining you again. Obviously, top of the mind, as we've already hit in a couple of different angles, is the vaccine distribution challenge. I wanted to give a little overview on where we are with vaccine funding. There's been various information about, where the funding is, where it isn't, and the purpose of it. I've been in interaction with Brian Long with Memorial Healthcare and Larry Johnson with our health department throughout this. They've been using the CARES Act funding from last year for a lot of their work that they're doing at the health department with clinics and things of that nature. The legislature passed and the governor signed over $50 million in vaccine support funding last December. That funding has not actually been expended yet. There's about $40 million that's going to be split up between the public health agencies. Shiawassee is receiving about $400,000 of that. They will be able to reimburse expenses against that fund. Speaking with Larry last week, they've not reached a point where they're actually incurring costs against that fund. So I want to be clear to those on this call that comments about, running out of vaccine funding or some of the things going on having an impact on vaccine capacity, simply not accurate. There's actually projected out funding. This is state funding that is going to be able to be used as well. The supplemental that the House passed a couple of weeks ago has an additional $90 million in vaccine funding. But we've done some things with that funding, I think, that are very important. And the reason for that importance is coming out in some of the challenges that we're certainly seeing in Shiawassee. From the beginning, there's been a challenge with forecasting and communication. The hospital system, the public health agency, they're just not receiving notice. They have to plan for capacity, plan for clinics, and then adjust rapidly, often at a cost still, when doses don't materialize. And there's very short notice on that. So we have some additional reporting requirements on on the state Department of Health and Human Services related to projections on distribution, further explanation of the social vulnerability index that's been announced recently as a key factor in how communities are going to be rated in effect for the quantity of vaccine. What does that look like? Give a practical example. In effect, if we had a statewide total of 100,000 vaccines, is what we've put in this language. What would this look like? How would this be dispersed? A challenge that we've had from our public health department is the example of Marquette County to Shiawassee. By every demographic factor that we can identify, Marquette should be pretty similar to Shiawassee, yet they've received 3 times the doses that Shiawassee has. So you're having tension in the system as a result of the consistency not really being discussed. There's also some discussion about simplification of the phases of eligibility so that it's just more approachable and more easy to communicate out into the community. But in general, the goal here in this effort with the supplemental that the legislature is working on is to elevate the input that we've received from our frontline vaccine providers. Obviously, there's a centralized strategy from DHHS, but at the end of the day, our hospital systems and our health departments are the ones that we're tasking with actually implementing this vaccine. And any lofty goal is only as good as full freezers of doses to actually get out into people's arms. So we have an announcement yesterday, Sunday, that there'll be a further eligibility band for mortuary and a couple of other areas, and federally qualified healthcare systems will receive doses based on equity initiatives involving minority populations and things of that nature. But again, that's all well and good if you have the doses. Unfortunately, that represents another area where the vaccine inventory would be routed to other partners, while we have Memorial Healthcare, as one example, able to do thousands on site in their facility, and they're receiving no single doses. So that's extremely front of mind for me and other lawmakers. And that's part of what we're doing as we work through this process on the funding side to ensure that there's clarity and accountability in the vaccine distribution from the state level to our local partners. And we want to honor that. Thank you for the time, Justin.
Thank you, Ben. And since we have all these folks on, I do want to, before we switch topics, I do want to open up. Does anyone have any comments or questions real quick for any of our speakers? If you do, hit *6 on your phone, *6. Anyone have anything right now? Okay. Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Tom. We're going to continue to pass along, as I said, this information as we get it. And obviously, hopefully, we just start getting more vaccines. I mean, that is the solution, as we know. Want to pivot here. Really exciting new initiative. I kind of teased it in the invitation to this call. And there's been a little bit of press coverage on this, but very exciting opportunity to help serve the people in need of food in Shiawassee County and support our local restaurants that have been struggling. Very exciting new opportunity made possible by funding support from our United Way office and administered by our Shiawassee Family YMCA. So I wanted to give Laura Archer from the Y and Emily Mara from the United Way the opportunity to jump on the call today and tell you what it's all about. And certainly, if you are a restaurateur or if you know restaurant owners, you're definitely going to want to pay attention because we want to know if you're interested in participating. With that, I don't know, Laura or Emily, if one of you want to kick it off.
I can go ahead and start, and then Emily, who has partnered with me since the first call, can jump in as well, so don't hesitate, Emily. It is an exciting program that we're about to launch. It's really an economic development program to help support our small local restaurants. So any locally owned restaurant that's not a franchise or a chain would be eligible to help provide meals which will be distributed locally to any individual in our county who is experiencing food insecurity. So it really is a win-win. The YMCA has received funding to purchase the meals from restaurants, and based on a couple programs throughout the nation that are running successfully, one out in Vermont and then one that was launched on February 1st here in Jackson, Michigan, they have done all the research and worked on the metrics. And so we know that we will be able to pay restaurants $10 a meal, and we know to start with how many meals that we can potentially ask this combination of restaurants to create for our county. And that we're going to start about 2,000 meals a week. We'll have distribution sites spread throughout the county. We have one already selected in Durand. We have one in Langsberg, but we're also looking for locations where these prepared meals can be delivered and then distributed to those in need. It will all be done on a very set schedule. Once we have that collection of restaurants selected, we will go ahead and create that schedule for 2 or 3 days a week. And again, restaurants will be deciding how many meals they could prepare, whether it's for a single day or multiple days a week. And so the YMCA is the fiduciary of this program through support of United Way. One of the key things that's a big ask of our community right now is that we're hoping to find some matching dollars. Right now we have funding for probably 3 to 4 weeks of meals, starting with about 2,000 meals a week, hopefully growing to 3,000 meals a week. Again, then those are based on metrics that have been figured out in other successful programs. So we're hoping to start at about 2,000, and then if we need to expand to add more restaurants, we can do that. The longer the program runs, the more support we will be able to provide restaurants. So again, the goal is to find some matching funds. And so that's really phase one of the program. Our hope is that we're able to secure some interest from some of our local restaurants to also become SNAP benefit providers, which means individuals who are receiving the food assistance called SNAP benefits could ultimately utilize their SNAP benefits at a restaurant, and that's a reimbursable program for restaurants. So we're already looking into the future on how we can potentially sustain this program to, again, provide support, economic support for our restaurants so that they can recover more quickly from being closed and limited with capacity. The other key thing I will mention is that another win is that we're asking restaurants who are applying to list the local Michigan vendors that they use. And our hope would be that we can utilize restaurants that use up to 50% locally sourced food. And so it really then helps with the economic development further down the chain. So before we open it up to questions, I'm just going to share the space with Emily to see what she has to share from the United Way's perspective.
Good morning, and thank you for having us on, Justin, to share this program. It's really important to make sure that we're looking at helping the largest sector that we can possibly help, and those who have been hit economically sometimes the worst. And we really did see that our small restaurants, business owners were just shackled and unable to open their doors. So in hopes that this also continues to create community for these restaurants and some positive press for them, and just a glimmer of hope that the future is bright and that our community members are here to support them. One of the things, in matching funds that we're looking at is maybe even inviting the restaurants to invite the patrons who come through their doors to purchase a meal or to donate $10 on their check towards the program, so that it's not, we're asking people to come out of pocket $50,000 or $40,000 to try to match the $100,000 that was given towards the program, but it's really allowing everybody to be able to participate at a level that they're comfortable with, and that's what the United Way has always been about with our workplace campaign. So, we're just really excited to be able to support as many as we can in the community, and want to make sure everybody knows that we're here, and every dollar that we raise here stays here. This funding was a special one-time funding that we received, and we're just really lucky to be able to partner with the Y, who had capacity to be able to take on this program, because a lot of the pantries and our food distribution sites, you know, they're running their own programs, and this is a very different, very unique program. So excited to partner with Laura and the rest of the community members on this. So thanks for the time and the space.
Thank you, Em. Anybody have any comments or questions? I'll jump off here. Well, it's more of a comment. So process, and we are obviously engaged in this. We want to be a good community partner. And as you all know, we've been working very hard to try to support our local restaurants during this time. So working with the team members, with the Y, with the United Way, with the Shiawassee Regional Chamber of Commerce, with the Durand Chamber of Commerce to begin assembling the list of the restaurants that could be participating. And then, you know, we need to understand what their capabilities and capacity and interest is. So I don't know if you want to maybe, Laura or Emily, if you want to talk a little bit more about the survey instrument and when it's going to come out and what they need to do to respond to it.
Sure, I can address that. The email, it's going to be emailed out from SEDP, Shiawassee Regional Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Durand Chamber of Commerce, to all the locally owned restaurants. We made some phone calls to try to ensure that our email list is as complete as possible. For those that don't have an email, though, they'll get a phone call. And basically, the first survey link that is completed is an actual application where it's just some basic information about the restaurant, capacity information, you know, who do you partner with as local food source vendors. And then that information will all come back to the YMCA, Justin, and people can follow up with me, and I will, of course, be following up with them. The second phase of the application is, you know, as partners are selected, restaurant partners are selected, to ensure that everybody is all the restaurants are in compliance with the local health department, as well as with COVID guidelines. And so before an MOU is drafted, there's one other, that, you know, that middle step, that secondary step, just trying to get that information from restaurants, verifying with the health department, and then really moving forward. Once that is set, we will, we have that process started. We will go ahead and set a launch date based on what the feedback is from our restaurants. You know, we could start it probably within a week after that list is compiled. So our intention is to start early March. And the great thing is that we will then be able to cut checks to the restaurants after that very first week. That they can either pick up or they'll go in the mail, and so we can actually get the funding to our restaurants, hopefully by mid-March.
Great, and I think our list right now is somewhere in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, of local restaurants. So, once again, definitely, if you are a restaurateur or you have friends that own or operate restaurants, please make them aware that a survey will be forthcoming here very shortly. Any comments or questions from anybody on the call regarding this program? I did just get a text from our friend Josh Adams at Owasso Main Street. He'd also be happy to help with restaurant connections in the downtown Owasso area as well. So something to note there, Laura.
Great, thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Gail Kiesler out in Langsburg. I know you're saying restaurant. First of all, this sounds like a wonderful program. I love the idea. I was wondering, we have a market, a grocery store that does a lot of lunch. Are they open to this program at all, or is it just restaurants?
My understanding from I think it's any source, any locally owned business that can create a balanced, healthy meal. So it needs to be something that the idea is that they're pre-made.
Yeah. And well, I know we have a lot of Sage Market in Langsburg.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sage Market.
Sage Market. Okay.
It's a grocery store. I just know that they have a lot of prepackaged. A lot of people go to lunch there and get their lunch. I know you're trying to encourage the restaurants to buy locally too, which could benefit them obviously, but I was just curious.
Is Sage Market a chain?
No.
No, not part of the family, Spartan family or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I will verify that, but they have no affiliation that I know. I will reach out to the owner.
Yeah, they're an independent. Sam Shango, right, Gail?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. So these grocery folks do prepackaged meals. So thank you for bringing that up.
Hi, this is Terry at MGuard. I wanted to first say that I think this program sounds great and that it meets the needs of a multitude of stakeholders out there, and so I think that's fantastic. My question is about the funding that's needed. So in terms of the number of restaurants and the launch in March, what sort of short-term funding is needed, and like maybe even 6 months out? Like what kind of matching dollars are you all looking for?
Based on the success of other programs that we've investigated and are modeling ours after, not just in the state but nationwide, we would need probably $350,000 to run from launch through like the beginning of summer in June. And so the goal would be to find some restaurants who would be interested in SNAP benefits, to provide SNAP benefits or utilize SNAP benefits to help with the sustainability. But the goal would be then to move beyond fundraising and find sustainable sources through which to fund the program until we know restaurants are really secure and back on their feet.
Okay. And so is that $350,000? Does that include the United Way funding, or is that
correct? It does. Yes. Yes, it does include that. So it would be another $250,000, which again we know is a stretch goal for us. But again, we also know that there are some very generous businesses and other agencies that may be able to help with matching dollars. And so we just know our Shiawassee community has come together in the past, and hopefully with enough PR and enough success from this program, we'll be able to find the financial resources to really sustain it until, again, as I mentioned, the restaurants really are back on their feet, opened at full capacity.
Okay, and just one last question, just confirm. Did I hear that the goals of starting with cohort of restaurants was at 60 restaurants to start with? I just want to make sure I have my information correct.
That's the master list of all eligible restaurants here in the county.
Okay, do you have a goal for how many that you would like to start with? I mean, could it be all 60, or is it going to be 50% of that is what that $350,000 would bear in that first few months?
The successful programs that we're modeling after have started with 10 to 12 restaurants, and then they continue accepting applications. And if they're running, for instance, if they run for 10 weeks, they'll switch at 5 weeks to a second set of restaurants. The goal would be to share the resources broadly and versus sharing them deeply. And so we would prefer to work with as many restaurants as we could, but again, it really will depend on the level of applications that we receive back this week and into next week.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the work you all are doing.
Well, thank you.
It
takes all of us to make sure that we're able to help the businesses as well as help those in need in our community.
Terry, while you're here, I think it'd be good to have folks know who you are. We're very lucky. We have a new representative from the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development serving the region, including Shiawassee County, and that is Terry Barker. Terry, do you want to maybe do a quick intro on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Justin. So my name is Terry Barker. I'm an Economic and Community Development Analyst, currently as interim for Region 6. You may have been familiar with my colleague, Joe McCullough, who moved on to a new position recently at MEDC, and you'll be seeing him shortly because he'll be at MEDC as a BDM. and until we hire somebody for this position, I will be the Region 6 sort of stand-in. Currently, like prior to his departure, I covered Southeast Michigan. So for those familiar with the Michigan Prosperity Regions, that would be regions 9 and 10. And so what we do is our team, we support all food and ag businesses within our footprint with the goal of growing the ag industry, which is currently at a $104.7 billion impact, and looking at opportunities to grow that largely through processing. But I'm here to provide support and resources for any and all food-related asset building, as well as business retention, expansion, and attraction. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And certainly, if you believe there are any state programs that might be able to assist this local effort, please do let us know.
I will. This is something, I don't know if my team is aware of this program, but I'm certainly taking notes. I'm going to bring that back to them and see if there's something that we can do to support what you all are doing in Shiawassee County. It seems like an important program, and I definitely really love how it's able to meet the needs of restaurants, address food insecurity, as well as some of the supply chain stuff that we think is really important in terms of supporting our local farms and producers.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate you jumping on and your question and the partnership we have with MDART. Anybody else have any comments or questions on this program?
Hi, Justin. It's Colleen Stowell.
Yeah, go ahead, Colleen.
Quick question. Are food trucks qualified to apply for this program? I know we have a lot of food trucks over the summer that are in Shiawassee County. Do they qualify?
This is not specific to a food truck program, no, because it's not a brick and mortar that has been closed down for the past month.
Okay.
They would still have been able to operate as a food truck if they had chosen to go out and serve the community.
Right. I was just wondering because I know a lot of festivities that the food trucks would have participated in were shut down last year. And hopefully they'll be up again this year, but I guess we don't know yet. Thank you.
This program has not been for food trucks.
Thank you, Colleen. Good question. Other comments or questions on this program from anybody? Okay, well, we're going to keep this going. Laura, Emily, thank you for your leadership on this. We're going to get rolling with the communication to the restaurants. And as I said before, please, if you are a restaurateur or you know them, please encourage them if they'd like to participate in this program to fill out the survey, which will be forthcoming shortly. We're getting a little bit late in time. I had a couple of things I want to mention, but I'm just going to not do it to shorten the call. But I do have one last speaker I want to have jump on here. Very timely. It's just come up as a high priority for us to try to get engagement from employers. A new program to help connect our K-12 students with companies that need talent. It's called Emerge Skilled. And we've got Lena Miller, Business and Community Liaison with the RASD, that we, the SEDP, partners with, along with the Mid-Michigan MySTEM Network, to be that liaison between business and schools. She's going to jump on and talk about Emerge Skill. Lena, you want to go ahead?
Sure, Justin. Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay?
You're good.
Awesome. So Emerge Skill is a new app that we need a partnership from business and the schools to make efficient. And how this app works is it's like a dating system or a matching system for students with their talents to the needs of a business. And the reason that we are so interested and motivated in this is because we have students who are graduating with skills in welding and machine shop and woodworking through our CTE programs. We even have medical skilled students that are getting credentials while they're in high school. And so we're looking to try and match these students with employers that are going to allow them to keep cultivating their talent, but at the same time get them into the workforce, because we know we so desperately need workers. So if you are interested in harnessing some of that new talent and cultivating some employees, I'm going to ask that you get with Justin, because we're going to start doing one-on-ones to talk about how to get registered with Emerge Skill and how it can benefit your company.
Great. Thank you, Lana. And yes, we are interested in talking with companies, getting them into the pipeline. So send me an email if you would like to learn more and get signed up. We probably have like a 30-minute call. We'd be on, certainly Lana would be on, and then probably a gentleman named Joe Bamberger from Emerge Skills. That's all for the agenda today. I do believe we set a record for number of speakers today. So hopefully you found the time very helpful, very informational. The last thing I will mention, we do have 2 events coming up next week. We are doing a joint event with our friends at the Shiawassee Regional Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Small Business Development Center, focused on e-commerce. So we got a good RSVP count so far. This is going to be for businesses that want to learn about product photography. So thinking about restaurants, taking good photos of food so you can post it on social media to make your meals more enticing, stuff like that. So that's going to be 11 o'clock virtual next Thursday. And then also next Thursday, we are doing a update coffee, our virtual coffee still. That's going to talk a little bit more about what SEDP has been working on over the past month. That'll be 8 a.m. Thursday. So that's all we have for now. As always, thank you for your time. If anything comes up, please do let us know. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe out there today. Have a good day. Bye.